Distinguished guests, Father, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Majesty's Lord Lieutenant South Yorkshire, thank you for the kind invitation celebrating the life of General Maczek. During my last visit, I had the pleasure of meeting and speaking with the late General's granddaughter. General Maczek has gone down in history as a brilliant army general. The Germans called his army Black Devils. He himself often said, "The Polish soldier fights for the freedom of all nations, but dies only for Poland." During one of the Papal's general gatherings at the Vatican in 1979, Pope John Paul II met with numerous pilgrims. After the audience, the Pope approached the section where people with disabilities were seated. First in line was an elderly couple with their adult disabled daughter in a wheelchair. The older man introduced himself. "My name is General Maczek." The Pope raised his hands and said, "General Maczek, that is a chapter of history." The Pope spoke briefly with the General and his family before moving on. Among the Poles present in St. Peter's Square, news spread, and they began to chant, "General Maczek, General Maczek." General Maczek was born on the 31st of March 1892 to a Polish family in a small town not far outside the city of Lemberg, which was then located in the state of Galicia, part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In his youth, he studied Polish philosophy at the University of London. Led by patriotic feelings, he signed up to the Polish Rifles Association, a social educational organisation with a parliamentary profile. The association was founded for the development of Polish leaders in 1914. However, Maczek was not able to apply it in their ranks. As a subject of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, soon after the outbreak of the First World War, he was mobilised into the army ranks of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. It was only there that his military and commanding talents were discovered, for which he received numerous promotions and decorations. At the time of the fall of the Habsburg monarchy, on the 11th of November 1918, he deserted the Austro-Hungarian army and joined the Polish army and took part in battle for independence on the borders of the Polish state. His superiors praised his courage, drive, and ability to make decisions in the field of battle. In the autumn of 1938, an unusual decision was taken, entrusting to Maczek, who was at the time the colonel responsible for commanding the 10th Cavalry Brigade. Up until then, he had only experience of commanding units of infantry, and now he was faced with the task of commanding large mobilised troops. Maczek passed the most serious test of preparation of his troops after the Nazi Germany attack on Poland on the 1st of September 1939. Thanks to the tactical skills of their commander, the 10th Cavalry Brigade was able to inflict serious losses to the German forces. For his stance during this military operation, Maczek was decorated with the Gold Cross of the War Order of the Virgin Military, 4th class, and promoted to the post of General of the 10th Brigade. After the Soviet invasion in 17th September 1939, the 10th Brigade received their order to evacuate the country. In France, based on the soldiers and the equipment evacuated from Poland, there began to be formed the 10th Brigade of the Armoured Cavalry. However, the French were not eager to help the Poles form an Armoured Division. After the German invasion of France, Maczek's units also fought to defend France. However, after the capitulation, General Maczek and his forces landed in Britain. There too, in 1942, a 1st Armoured Division was formed which was one of its proudest historical moments in battle fought in Western Europe between 1944 and 1945. The Polish division was relocated to Normandy at the end of July 1944, shortly after the landings in Normandy. In August 1944, when the Nazi Germany occupied Warsaw and the Warsaw Uprising was underway, General Maczek's soldiers were directed to support fierce battles around the Normandy city of Falaise. The bloody battle went down in history as the Falaise Pocket. The aim of the occupation by the Allied armies was to cut off the German return route after first penetrating their defences in Normandy. Due to the difficult situation and being surrounded by German forces, supplies from Polish armies were delivered solely by air. Thanks to the arrival of the 3rd Infantry Division, it was possible to rebuff German attacks and force them to retreat. In the subsequent days, the division was able to regroup their troops and go after the retreating armies, and then to cross the French-Belgian border. There, already at the beginning of September, Belgian cities were being liberated, amongst them Ypres and Toulouse. Full of energy, Maczek's men took part in the liberation of subsequent cities in occupied Belgium, such as Ghent, Lorraine and St. Nicholas. In mid-September, they crossed the Dutch border, from which, after long battles in Zeeland, they were directed to Brandenburg to displace the Germans from Breda. Control over Breda was fundamentally important strategically for communications. The Germans decided to build strong defence fortifications with the aim of maintaining and retaining control of the city. Battles for the city were particularly fierce. The city was captured after a few hours of fighting. The Poles entered the direction of the attack, surrounded the city, and entered from the east. The main battle took place between the 29th and the 30th of October 1944. The manoeuvre used by General Maczek took the Germans by complete surprise, and the liberation of the city took place without civilian losses. General Maczek forbid the use of artillery fire against the city and the use of military interventions by air, thanks to which the city was salvaged without serious destruction. During the fighting, 151 Polish soldiers were killed and nearly 600 Germans were captured by Maczek's men. Residents of the liberated towns and cities in Belgium and Holland greeted their liberators with joy. As Maczek himself remembered, in the windows and many shop fronts, Polish signs were hung up saying, "Thank you, Poles." Maczek soldiers were welcomed into Dutch homes, and some of them settled in Holland for good. In the spring of 1945, the German Allied defences began. At the beginning of May, the armed soldiers found themselves in Wolfheisen, where they accepted the capitulation of the general of the base at French memory, and the Polish flags were raised above the fort. It was there they heard the news about the capitulation of the Third Reich. Even though the war was coming to an end, the Poles couldn't fully share in the joy felt by the countries of Western Europe. The 1st Division received one more order to set up a Polish occupied zone on the Dutch-German border, with a total surface area of 6,500 square kilometres. The informal capital of the zone was the city of Erin in Lower Saxony, which was temporarily called Odbyły. However, under the pressures from the Soviets, and its name changed again, streets in the city were given Polish names. Thousands of Polish forced labourers, prisoners of labour camps, and prisoners of war camps, amongst them insurgents from the Warsaw Uprising, found their shelter in Erin. At this time, there functioned in the city over a dozen Polish schools, a theatre, bookshop, publishers' printing press, and even folk or People's University. The Poles left the city in 1948. Maczek unsuccessfully tried to intervene with the superior generals of the Allied armies on the issue of Jalta, of the Jalta Agreement, which was to hand over Poland. to Stalin's sphere of influence. He met with an impressive neglect on issues on which, for many years, Polish soldiers had fought. In his memoirs, Maczek remembers the conversation he had with Field Marshal Montgomery. After the war, Maczek shared the fate of many thousands of Poles who were unable to return to their homeland, which was now under communist rule. The communists deprived him of his Polish citizenship. As an immigrant, he led an unusual modest life. Amongst others, he worked as a salesman, a barman in one of Scotland's hotels. Stanisława Maczek lived to a vulnerable age of 102. He died in Edinburgh on 11th of December 1944. He was buried at the Polish cemetery in Riga among his soldiers. A truly remarkable, decorated general, having respect for his soldiers and allied commanders. General Maczek, rest in peace,